Johnny looked out at the valley. It was now darker than it had been when Jenny first came out. Funny thing about nightfall, he thought. You can stand and watch it, and it gets darker so gradually you almost don't notice it. But if you look away for a few moments and then look back, you find daylight has slipped away. Sort of like a watched pot never boiling. He said, "We're all mortal. We pass onward when it's our time. But it's hard to imagine life here without Granny Tate to nurse our ills." Jenny nodded. Josh came out from the parlor to join them. He had a glass of scotch in one hand. His hair was pulled back in a tail, and he was in a clean shirt and jeans. He had ridden in for dinner in leather chaps and had been covered with trail dust. Temperance was maintaining the rule Jenny had always enforced. Even though this was a working ranch, you washed and wore clean clothes for dinner. He said, "How's my little brother doing?" "Fine," Johnny said. "He's asleep. Keep that foghorn voice of yours down, though. I don't want to wake him." "I am being quiet." Jenny laughed and touched Josh on the arm. "I'll leave you men to talk." She went back inside. "So, Pa," Josh said, "I was wondering when you and Jessica and the kids were heading back to the cabin." He told Josh the same thing he told Jenny. Josh nodded, and he took a belt of scotch. Johnny said, "You got something on your mind." Josh nodded again. "Temperance doesn't like me to talk business at the dinner table. I suppose she's right. It should be family time. But I have something to ask you." Johnny said, "Ask away." "I got a letter on today's stage." Johnny nodded. A writer had come in from town with the letter. Josh said, "You know Kirby Jonas? Has a ranch down in Salmon River country." Johnny nodded again. "I've met him a couple of times. Runs a good-sized ranch there. About the size of this one. Well, he's auctioning off some stock. Must need to raise funds or something. His stock is usually the finest around. But you can't go check on it yourself because you're starting spring roundup in a few days." Josh nodded. Johnny said, "When's the auction?" 8 days. I know you want to get back to the cabin, but it would really help if you could attend that auction. Consider it done. I really appreciate it. Of course, Jessica and the kids can stay here as long as they need, but you shouldn't be gone long. I'll head out tomorrow to make sure I'm there in plenty of time. If I purchase some stock, the return trip will be a little longer, but either way, I won't be gone long." Josh nodded. "Thanks, Pa. I hate to put you out this way." Johnny shook his head. "Nonsense. You run things nowadays, and I'm partially retired, but I'm still a part of this ranch.